Hi there, welcome to the latest edition of my 10-minute moan. And the topic of this 10-minute moan is yet another defector leaving the SNP. This time it's a top businessman called Steve Chisholm, who, after being, in his own words, a second generation supporter of SNP, he's decided to leave the party based on the flip-flopping of the party in their support of oil and gas industries. Now, Stephen's probably like me, and he's got a memory that goes by 10 years, and can probably remember well and good the desires of those wanting independence at the referendum to build a future for Scotland based heavily on oil, on their liquid gold. Yet now, because they now need the support of the Green Party to remain power in Holyrood, oil's suddenly not such a great thing. And many of you are probably similar to me on the subject of oil and independence, that you remember fine well how their independence hopes were built on it in the run-up to the referendum in 2014. I know several people, independence supporters, who that was their main go-to argument about why Scotland could be independent or should be independent. And normally they would follow that up by telling you how wonderful Norway was. But now that the SNP are caught between a rock and a hard place, because they rely on the Greens to keep them in power, suddenly these people have completely forgot about what they were telling us between 2012 and 2014 in the run-up to the referendum. And now they're telling us, oh no, that was never the case. No, there's far more to Scotland than oil. I mean, we weren't building that on oil. I mean, no, that's wrong. It's not wrong. It's factual. It's what they were trying to deliver is the biggest thing and the biggest reason for us to vote independence was oil. 10 years later, it's no such a great thing. So anyway, Steve Chisholm's left and joined ALBA due to their failure to stand up for the oil and gas industry. The story's been covered in a few different places. The Express, Scottish Daily Express, and even the Nationals picked up on this. So I'm just going to give you some of the sort of quotes and details out of each of them, or some of them rather. So it's, the Express say that Humza has been dealt another blow after a prominent Highlands businessman left SNP after its failure to support oil and gas. Steve Chisholm, who even stood to be party's candidate for Caithness and Easter Ross, is now quit the Nationalists to join ALBA. Now this is interesting, right? Because he was a candidate. He stood to be the party's candidate, right? He was wanting to be the party's candidate for the upcoming election for Caithness, Sutherland and Easter Ross. But they picked Lucy Beattie, right? Now, Lucy Beattie probably means nothing to you. It meant nothing to me until 24 hours ago. But Lucy Beattie's a girl, I'll put a link to it up here. She's a girl who was out campaigning, because she's the candidate for the area. She was out campaigning, I think, at the weekend. And she was telling us how the Keswick Bridge, you know, the bridge just north as you come out the A9 at Inverness, how that was an icon of EU investment, because Westminster let down the people of Scotland when they were building that bridge and never paid for it. Right? Turns out the bridge was built a decade before the EU was even a thing, and all bar 3 million of the 30 million total of that project was paid by Westminster. Right? The people who she decided to have a pop at and say it was their failure in the bridge, and it's an icon of the EU's investment in the area. Absolute bollocks. 10 years. It was planned start about the 60s, talking about this bridge. It was agreed, I think 71 or 72, by the then Secretary of State for Scotland, who's part of the Westminster Cabinet at the time, gave it a go-ahead, and it was finished in the early 80s. And the EU became a thing in the early 90s. Anyway, this Lucy Beattie, the SNP have decided this lassie, who's that clever, she doesn't know history, should be the candidate over this guy who has been described as a very successful businessman, a prominent businessman from the Highlands in the north of Scotland. These people are bonkers, aren't they? Anyway, he becomes the second high-profile businessman to defect in just a couple of weeks, following Doug Thompson, who joined Labour after revealing he no longer wanted independence, and that Nicola Sturgeon's deleted COVID WhatsApps were the final straw for him. Also a Highland councillor. Where are we? Oh, lost a wee bit. Highland councillor. Sorry, folks. Lost my way here. My big heavy finger is went down the page too long. Where are we? Highland councillors also left after Mr. Busef's party in February, with Carol Rosie now sitting as an independent after saying he was deeply troubled by the leader's policies. Right? Dr. Lisa Cameron became the most high-profile, excuse me, defector when she crossed the floor in the House of Commons to join Tories. And this was her that was like getting threatened and all that. She cited toxic behaviour within a nationalist group for her reasons for leaving, and then she got death threats and stuff and had to move her family out their home. Anyway, back to Mr. Chisholm. His departure to ALBA will be further sign the business community do not trust the SNP-led Scottish Government amid anti-business policies such as refusing to hand over business rate relief and considering a ban on junk food sales. And, you know, I've done a video about this as well, maybe stick that in the corner, when they're going to ban, what do you call it, multi-buys, you know, buy one, get one free, or, you know, £4 for your frozen chips, but we'll give you 2 bags for a fiver and stuff. That's not happening anymore, right? Prominent businessmen quit the SNP, accusing nationalists of abandoning their support for oil and gas industry. And there's another quote here. David, who was heavily involved in securing the free port for the Highlands, said the SNP's refusal to back the sector left him to leave. Now, apparently this David Chisholm was heavily involved with these free ports that are coming about, which was a joint Westminster-Holyrood venture, so he obviously doesn't have a big issue with Holyrood either, the guy. His words, and I'm a second-generation supporter of the party. It's sometimes that's been something that's been with me since I was in primary school. Because of that, it's not easy to walk away, but it's become slightly diluted, and it's not the single-purpose voice for independence it was a few years ago. I have joined ALBA as it's a real opportunity to be part of an ambitious party which is entirely focused on gaining Scotland's independence. The Highlands possesses a wealth of natural resources, resilient communities, and a strong cultural heritage which should see our region prosper. And I would also add that he obviously thinks that that can't prosper under SNP, or it might still have been there, right? SNP, our region, is pivotal in achieving targets for energy security and net zero. This is ALBA. ALBA is the only party I see standing up for our oil and gas industries, and its workers recognise the importance of gradual transition to renewable sectors of energy. Alex Salmon said, "We're delighted to have someone of Stevie's calibre and business experience on board. I emphasise ALBA's credentials are a truly national party, representing all parties and communities in Scotland." That's wee Alec having another wee pop the SNP, claiming that they're obviously not a true national party. ALBA's request to Stephen Chisholm to help lead an economic and business initiative underscores the party's commitment to fostering economic growth and advocating for the interests of the Highlands. His extensive experience and dedication to the region development position him as a valuable asset in shaping the party's economic policy and industrial strategy. Seems like Mr. Chisholm's got some fans there at ALBA. But I think the most important bit to me is just this whole flip-flopping about oil. And as I've already said, I have personal experience of people who 10 years ago were adamant that we would be the next Norway because of our oil. And now we say, no, we never said that. Well, if you didn't say that, why would you use and pinpoint Norway as the example of what good looks like? Right? You did. Just let's stop kidding on, you didn't, right? I'd suggest about 80-90% of your plan for independence was based on oil. And now suddenly it's a bad thing. The SNP are crackpots, right? Remember I was talking before in the video about the buzzwords, and you know, they just throw buzzwords about. It's the same with their policies now. That they just say whatever they think is either the cuddly trendy thing at the time, or the thing that will advance their politics. They do not have any standards. They do not have any ethos. They just have this desire to be independent and will say whatever it takes at the time to do so. They needed the Green Party because they failed to get a majority at the last Scottish elections. They had to go in a coalition with them. And I called it right back then and said, what did they do with oil now? Because the Greens will not let them invest in oil or even suggest that oil is the best thing for an independent Scotland, because they crackpot, they're even bigger crackpots, by the way, the Green Party. But the saving grace with them is they couldn't run a country because they just would never get that amount of support. So, the fact that they want independence isn't that scary. The fact that they're crackpots isn't that scary. But the fact that they're crackpots now with people in the cabinet, because they're in coalition with SNP, is bloody scary. And it's that scary, it's affected people's memory. Because these people are adamant that between 2012 and the lead up to the 2014 referendum, no, I mean, Scotland's got far more things than just oil. Yeah, those of us who are the unionists had to listen to this tirade for about 2 years, telling us oil and oil alone will give us all paths of gold out to our main streets, potholes and all this, because oil will pay for a lot. What a bollocks. Never will, never has, for the simple fact we've pawned it, right? The countries that do well out of oil are national. They have it as a national business. Ours isn't. We do make money off it because obviously there's taxes and things like that we get when these companies dig the oil. But we don't get it all. Not like Norway. They get the profit. We don't get the profit. We get a tax on the profit. That's how it will never, ever make Britain or Scotland a Norway, because we've pawned it. The exact same as we've pawned the wind turbines. That's a way as well. We'll get a wee toty tickle for that going forward, if there's any money to be made at all, because we've guaranteed these people money, and if we don't buy the power off them and we tell them to turn off their wind turbines, we have to give them dough, right? Could actually cost us money, because that's the calibre and the quality of the SNP. So, if you like the video, give me a thumbs up, hit the subscribe if you've not already done so, please. But unless you're Humza Yusuf, the SNP, or any of the cult members, have a great day. Cheery, bye now.